If you're wondering about scholarships and funding while studying in Denmark, and then how life is after graduation, what working environment is like, then this video is for you. And if you don't know me, my name is Dominika. Welcome to my channel. In the past, I did 2 videos about studying in Denmark, one more general one, answering your questions, and then another one where I talked about negative aspects, which I feel like people don't talk about, and they should when they make a decision whether they should come to study here or not. And right now it's been 2 years since my graduation, and I have thoughts that I want to share with you. And if you like this video, please don't forget to give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Also hit the notification button, because when I see that you like that type of videos, I can make more. And specifically with those studying in Denmark videos, all of them are based on the questions that you ask me. So please post the questions in the comment section, or if you don't want to do it in the comment section, you can write me an email. It's in the description, so I can make more videos answering more of your questions. Firstly, let's talk about funding and scholarships while studying in Denmark, because I talked about it briefly in my last video, but maybe not with enough detail because I still got a lot of questions about it, so I want to talk specifically about it here. So if you're studying in Denmark, you're eligible to something called SO, which is basically money from Danish government that you get while studying that you don't have to give back, which is why a lot of people chose to study in Denmark, because of the financial situation. And with that one, please watch the video that I made about negative aspects, because there's a lot of misconceptions about it. You get taken advantage of very easily by employers when you come here, because people come for a SO, and then to get the SO you actually have to work. And with that, if you're a Danish citizen or if you have a permanent residentship here, you don't have to work to receive a SO. But when you first come here, you're obviously not a permanent resident, you're a temporary resident, so you receive temporary residentship because you come here to study, and that's why the rules are different for you. Also, please keep in mind you have to be European Union citizen. I received so many questions about people from different countries if they're eligible for a SO. You're not. You have to be European Union citizen, and then you have to work 10 to 12 hours a week, which is approximately 43 to 46 hours per month. The rules are so weird. I will link this website in the description, which is the official government website for a SO. You can also email them directly, so they will of course give you better answer than me. I'm not a government employee, I'm not someone working for a SO office, it's just my own experiences, but based on all the information that I found and based on what I know, you have to be European Union citizen to receive a SO. And basically the rules are so weird with the working hours, because they have weekly rules, 10 to 12 hours a week, but you don't receive your salary weekly, you receive it monthly. So that's why at the end they only see your end result, how many hours you work in total that month, so it needs to be 43 to 46. And there's limitation to how much money you can make per month. I will check it out and put the amount over here, but basically you cannot make more than that amount per month, and if you do, you will lose your right to a SO, because the whole idea of a SO is that you're supposed to be a student, meaning have a part-time job, make some amount of money, but you cannot actually receive the amount of money as if you had a full-time job. You have to pay your taxes in Denmark. There's been a lot of people messaging me asking if they work for the company in their home country, if they can receive a SO here. No, you have to pay your taxes here in Denmark. I'm not sure how it is for the company you work for, if they're also supposed to be paying taxes in Denmark as a company. I honestly have no idea. I just know that for 100% you have to pay your taxes in Denmark. The whole idea was to encourage, that's what my Danish friends told me, okay? I'm not a specialist, but they told me the whole idea was to encourage Danish people, Danish citizens, to higher education. So the whole idea with the SO is that the government will give money to students for studying, so they don't have to worry about paying for their dorm room and for food. The SO is going to cover it, and then of course if they have part-time job, it's an additional income, but they don't have to work full-time. And then when Denmark joined EU, that was before I came to Denmark. I came to Denmark in 2016. I know that apparently on the beginning none of the other citizens of any other country was eligible for a SO, only Danish citizens. And then there's been protest of European Union citizens in Denmark, because the whole European Union, we're supposed to be equal, have equal rights. So from what I know, basically the Danish government decided to sort of come up with compromise that okay, European Union citizens can get a SO, but the government will not just give money for people to come here to study, they have to also contribute in some way. So that's why you have to work at least 10 to 12 hours per week and pay your taxes in Denmark as your contribution. Then the amount of SO, I've graduated 2 years ago. Basically, I was to receive approximately 5,700 Danish krona a month, and then I had to work. So at the time, again, the wages and stuff, I don't know, it's really hard to talk about because I don't know how much other people are making. I don't know how much I was making, but basically when I started in 2016, 2017, I was making 115 Danish krona per hour before tax, and that was during my cleaning job. And then when I got my office job, I was making 135 Danish krona an hour. And Denmark has high taxes, which is not a secret. It's approximately 40% of your salary goes to taxes. When I was getting 5,700 of a SO, and then salary I was making after tax added up to like over 9,000 a month. I think I had like 9,400 a month approximately, which I was studying in Aarhus. So my dorm room was, I think, 3,000 Danish krona. So with the amount of money I was making a SO plus salary, it was perfectly enough for me to sustain myself, which is really amazing. It's amazing that Denmark has that. And advice that I will give you when it comes to SO: every university has SO office, which is the people you can talk to about SO. They are qualified people to talk about SO, obviously, but they are just people. I know people who had more complicated situation. I had a friend, he was going to Norway to work for some oil company or something, and the lady, I think in the SO office, told him he can do that and keep his SO, and then turned out that he had to give back the money. And in general, I know that when there are those specific situations, those people can make mistakes. The issue is that if they tell you something in person and you follow their advice and it turns out to be wrong, there's nothing you can do, because you're just saying some lady told you something else, but you have no proof for that. So what I recommend you to do if you're in any sort of SO situation, have any questions about it, specific situation. In Denmark, the way that you talk to public organization is through e-box. You don't write physically letters. Actually, everything is electronized, everything is just digitalized. Everything is digitalized. So you can directly, through your e-box, write to the SO, National SO office, whatever it's called. I will put the name over here, okay? That's the organization to write to with your e-box. But then if you write to them a specific situation, they have to reply to you in Danish. That's just, even if you write in English, they will understand, but they have to reply to you in Danish. All Danish institutions have to reply to you in Danish. You always want to talk to them via email to have receipts for everything. So when if something happens and they ask you to give the money back, you can show them the emails they wrote to you and you can argue with them that way. Ever since you get off the boat, ever since you come into Denmark, immediately everyone asks you about Danish. Whenever I meet anyone, especially Danish people, but not only Danish people, also when I meet internationals, people always ask, how long have you been in Denmark? And then if you know Danish. And it's been the same way when I was here for 2 weeks, and it's the same way now that I've been here for 8 years. It doesn't change. It's the constant. The only constant of Denmark is people ask you about Danish. Honestly, you should learn it. I have friends who did learn it. It will make your life better if you know the language of the country you live in. But it's also not easy to learn. I first got here, as I said, I was 19. And if you watch my video about negative aspects in Denmark, you know I had a hard time for the first year or two. So I was studying full-time, having a part-time job, working in the evenings, and then those spare amounts of time I had, I wanted to be with my friends. I wanted to have a little bit of student life. After all, I was 19 and I just moved out from my parents' house to be here, and I just wanted to enjoy my life a little bit. But everyone kept telling me how I have to learn Danish, how important it is. And that's where one of my big regrets comes. And not maybe that big of a regret, but I don't have many regrets in life, but that's honestly one of them. When you come to Denmark, you're eligible to 3 Danish classes. From the moment that you start those Danish classes, you have 5 years to complete it. So you basically have 5 levels: 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, 3.4, 3.5. And then when you finish 3.5 and you get certificate for that, that's the document you can use later on to apply for your citizenship in Denmark. But if you want to study in Danish on higher education, then you have to complete 3.6. But not many people decide to do that that because it's only if you want to study in Danish. From the moment you start, you have 5 years to finish. I think it takes like 3.5 years to do all the modules, or that's what it's called, modules. So you can, for example, finish module 3 and then take 1 semester break and then start with the module 4 afterwards, because you have to do it within 5 years, although it takes 3.5 years. But that's where my big mistake came, because when I got here, there was so much pressure from the teachers to learn Danish, and they really were pushing on us starting that free Danish education because it will make our lives better to learn Danish. So all of us, basically foreigners in the class, went to the Danish classes, but then none of us treated it seriously, and I think from that class no one actually ended up completing all 5 modules. I had zero internal motivation to learn the language. I was only doing it because I was told that I have to. It's just life was too much, honestly, having to, you know, study and pay my own bills and, you know, cleaning toilets after work. It just wasn't really possible for me to really focus on Danish. And then also part of my education was an obligatory internships, and the internships in Denmark are not paid, so I had to do whole semester, I think like 5 months of full-time internship, 8 hours every day, non-paid. So I still had to do my cleaning job Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays and Saturdays after work, so I just physically couldn't really get myself to classes, so I stopped during that time. And then by the time I graduated university and I got full-time job here, then in that moment I was okay, now I'm not just a student here, I'm actually living here, I'm having full-time job here, it's time to learn Danish, but I lost my rights to study it for free. So since then I basically struggle to learn it on my own. The whole point of that is basically use free Danish classes. They are great, there's a lot of different schools you can choose from. You can choose to do them during weekdays, but I had a friend who was just going every Saturday for them. I also know one friend who did it fully online, so there's really a lot of classes they offer, so really take advantage of it, but do it when you will actually want to make an effort into learning the language. And also with Danish, I know some people who took some classes before coming to Denmark, and I honestly think it's a great idea if you can do that, because as I talked in the past, when you come here not knowing the language at 19, you have cleaning jobs, dishwashing jobs, warehouse jobs. If you learn the language, you can actually have nicer jobs as waitresses or bartenders. There's more options. And then same when you apply for office student jobs, because even if your job would be in English or in your language, they want you to speak Danish as a part of the company's language. And that moves me into next topic very smoothly, job after graduation, how easy it is to find and if it's possible. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's not easy. It also depends what you study, because I know people with IT computer science background, I think it's easier for them to find full-time job after graduation. So I think my friends who studied that got jobs relatively fast. But for example, for me in marketing, there's really a lot of people who studied marketing. They can hire Dane, speaking perfect Danish, who also speaks fluent English. It is hard to find a job. I had a friend, she actually finished the whole Danish modules 3.5 exam, and she had master's degree like me in marketing from university. And I think it took her a year to find a job, and I think in general that's kind of how it is. 8 months here, 14 months to find a job with business background. It's possible, but not easy. I was, I don't know, in a very good situation because I had a part-time job in the office as a student, and then it was a very small company, and they decided to hire me after I graduated, which was perfect because I seamlessly went from graduating university to working full-time. But I know it's not the case for most people. And also with that, I encourage you to think about, when you're still studying, to apply for student jobs in the companies that are known to hire their workers. Also, if you start with a free internships, they train you for free legally, and then you can get student worker job or full-time job with that. But while you do that, there's an unemployment fund. It's called A-kasse, and there are basically multiple A-kasse unemployment funds in Denmark. When you go to university, they will recommend you one. You can go to your student counselor, because there are different ones depending on what your background, what you study. The one that I'm in has this, it's a business A-kasse for business people. My friend is in another one, he's in the engineering one for engineers. So I know there are different ones. Go to your student council and ask the one that they recommend for you, and then basically you sign up to A-kasse when you're still a student, and while you're a student you don't have to pay for it. It's for free for you to be a member, and then the moment that you graduate you have to pay to keep being a member, and you have to be a member for at least 1 year before graduation to receive the unemployment funds when you graduate. So that's why when you're a student student, there's no reason to wait. Sign up to a CASE, be a member, and then when you graduate, you have this resource to fall back onto. And right now, I'm a member for the past 2 years, because I told you I have a job. I never was on a CASE, but I pay quarterly every 3 months, I think 1,500, it's like 500 crowns a month to, oh my gosh, my stomach, to still be a member. Then the CASE itself, I have to look how much it is, but it's not that much. It's enough for you to sustain yourself, but of course you make way more if you're working full-time. And also, as far as I know, you cannot be on it more than 2 years in total, so it's not that you can be on like CASE forever. I think it's just 2 years. And my last point here, work culture in Denmark. I think overall people are quite happy with the work-life balance in Denmark. Denmark is known for that. Working environments are quite friendly. You talk to your bosses on a first name basis. The hierarchy is more flat. Also, I think everyone that I know can work from home to a certain extent, and maybe not right away from the company, but I think usually companies now are quite flexible. They allow their employees to also work from home sometimes. Right now I work fully from home actually with my company. I know my coworkers, a lot of them have children, and they're really happy with how much flexibility they can have in their jobs here. And I've never really worked in another country than Denmark, but I can see when I go back home how my family is working in Poland and my friends, and I'm like, I don't think I'll be able to work in a Polish company ever in my life, just because, I don't know, in Denmark I got used to that employers trust you more as employee. So you have your tasks, you have things that you have to do, but I don't think they have this mindset of you have to clock in at 8 a.m. and clock out at 4 p.m. every day. I think in Denmark it's more you have stuff to do, and then your employers have like trust in you that you will complete them on time. But whether you want to do it from home or from the office, they're usually quite more flexible on that. I also know that some people in my office come to work later, like at 10 a.m. and then they leave later at like 5 p.m. So I think companies have more flexibility like for you to work in a way that makes sense for you. Also, maybe in the bigger corporations it's not as easy. I think people there work quite a lot. I think overall Denmark is a good country to work. And when it comes to the culture, the one I guess people get annoyed for is Danish in companies, because although companies are international, Danish people working there want to speak Danish also at the work related stuff. Like for example, I had a friend who worked for a company and their team had a chat and everyone there was speaking Danish on the chat, although he didn't speak Danish, so it was work related stuff and he couldn't understand it. I also know my flatmate told me his company had inclusivity seminar in Danish, so he couldn't participate in the seminar about being more inclusive in the workforce. And in general, it's something that a lot of people complain about. And on one hand, I think it's something that happens in other countries. If you have a company in Poland, in Greece, in France, in Germany, if majority of the workers there from that country, they will speak that language in their free time. And you can tell me if the countries is the same. I can just tell like my experience in Denmark is that goes into work related stuff, because companies organize those networking mingle things for you to do, like my company's breakfast, but then everyone speaks Danish there. I think if they want to be casual, they have to speak Danish. I think it's hard for people to do, that's what I hear from them. It's really hard to make jokes in English because they see English as a professional corporate language, not really as their language they can make jokes in and mingle and be casual. I also could tell there was that in my studies. In my first class, half of us were international, half was Danish. I think the main thing is that all of those programs are available in Danish. So people who wanted to study in Danish, they would just go to the Danish program. But those Danes chose to be in the English program, I think mainly for the career opportunities. They know it would look good in their CV. During breaks, all of the Danes would gather in the corner speaking Danish. All of us internationals were speaking English. So they definitely were separating from us, and we had like a group chat for the whole class. And whenever one of us internationals was going out, we always posted in the whole group chat. But then when Danes were going out, you would see on their Instagram stories, they would go out on their own and didn't want to invite us because they wanted to speak Danish. I think that's something people really struggle a lot with, being excluded through the language. And of course, a lot of Danes here would be like, oh, but you get free classes to learn Danish. And that's true. We definitely should be making effort to learn language of the country we're in. I agree. I just can definitely tell that if you're in a professional setting and professional language is English. I have a Polish coworker. and I speak English with him in front of my coworkers because I am aware it would be rude to speak Polish to him in front of people who don't understand it. And sometimes when they all speak Danish, the two of us will speak Polish to each other, and then someone always calls us out. So we have to keep it in English because that's the language of the company. But for Danes, it's not the same. They can speak their own language. So there's definitely that element of being excluded. That's, I think, been very consistent with everything. And I don't really know where that comes from, honestly. You know, I went on my Erasmus, and we were there with a German girl, and then like 9 Danes from my university, and me and the German girl would like go in at parties, make friends with different nationalities, different people, and then our who's Danes were speaking Danish in all the parties, and they only made friends with Danes from Copenhagen. I think maybe it's culturally people here just really want to be friends with people from their own culture, speaking their own language, so they really close off to others. And I do have some Danish friends, so not everyone is the same. I have some Danish friends who speak English to me, who don't care that I'm Polish, but I think a lot of people do. You can tell me what you think, because it's honestly very, very dividing topic, because a lot of the Danes get angry with me. They like learn Danish, and I understand where they're coming from, but then I can also definitely tell that when people have this attitude, they don't want to be my friend or talk to me at work because I don't speak Danish, then it doesn't motivate me to learn the language. It's the other way around. I'm like, if I have to learn your language for you to want to be friend with me, then we will not. As simple as that. I'm the one not speaking your language, and I'm in your country, so you shouldn't feel bad for not wanting to speak to me or feel forced to speak to me. But in the professional settings, like university classes in English, or company where corporate language is English and people just don't want to talk to you, then I think that's when it's an issue. And on that, I will finish this rambly video. Let me know if you have any more questions about studying in Denmark, living in Denmark, working in Denmark. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was useful, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.